Hi, it's Mr. Ford still, and we're still doing reading pie charts. So you should have finished those comparative bar charts and the bar charts from earlier. Now you should be looking at pie charts. Now pie charts are really useful too. Now the reason that we use pie charts are actually to represent proportions as a whole. We don't use them to do frequencies. We generally want them when they're proportions. So in this case, as you see, we have an example here where we've got the market share, the total market share in the UK for 2021 of some false data. Okay, where it's got it broken down so you've got different percentage of the total market share that year, where each sector here is labeled, giving either a percentage total or a number sometimes. Okay, sometimes they don't even have numbers, and you just have to understand it's a quarter or a half of the actual circle. And once you add them all up, it should be 100%, should include the whole the whole amount. So in this case, the total market share in the UK for 2021. So let's jump straight in and we'll try a question. Okay, so yours might not be in color, but you can see here. You can write them if you need. So we have this is Wow Pizza, Pizza Shack, Dotty Pizza, Pizza Pie, Slices, and others. Okay, so let's have a look. What comparisons can you make quickly and easily about this data? Because that's what's really good about it. Straight away, I can turn around and I can look at this and I can say, wow, pizza has the largest market share. This is used in budgets a lot to see where most of the money is getting put. Do we need to put money elsewhere? So here we can see that the largest market share is Wow Pizza. Okay, we can see close behind we have Pizza Shack, then followed by all the others. Okay, we can see that Slices has a very thin slice, has the least amount of the market share, with Pizza Pie coming second last as well. Now, you will do further comparisons when we do percentages. We're going to do a little percentage in a moment, but that's really what we're doing. It's just that's why we use pie charts. Pie charts are fantastic for quick glimpses of actual proportions of how we are breaking it up. Great for budgets. If you want to see how much you spend, you can do a budget, put into a pie chart, and you will see the comparative, how much you spend on going out, how much you spend on travel, how much you in comparison to other things. All right. So you'll find that this is used a lot for budgets and money. Let's have a look at this next question, because that's literally just looking at it and why they're useful. Okay, Pizza Shack had 150 million sales last year. Calculate the size of the total market share of pizza takeaways for 2021. So let's just go back up here. The easiest way to do this is they said a Pizza Shack has 150 million pounds. Okay, if we look on this, that's 25%. So 25% is 150 million. Now, if that's 25%, 25%. Now we're going to do percentages later. We want to find out what the total is. Well, total is 100%. So we can do a number of different things, but the easiest thing to do is we want to go from that. So we want to go, how do you go from 25% to 100%? You just times by 4. So we times this by 4. Because 4 lots of this is 100%. So 4 lots of that is 600 million. Okay, bit of percentages there, but that's how when we're reading this information, that's just a nice question where you would actually do that. Okay, so we pop that down here. That's where I'd pop the information down here, but the Pizza Shack is that. So that's 25% is the Pizza Shack. So therefore that is 150 million pound. So the total share, or 100%, will be times by 4. So that's going to be times by 4. So it's going to be 600 million pound. Okay. There is questions further on. There's another question below I want you to try, which is on, which has some separate things you need to do, but it's taken exactly from an exam question. Give it a go. Now, I'm sorry, that's probably too quick for you, but If you haven't, just skip back a little bit. Make sure you do that question on the colors there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the last one for our reading of graphs, which is these things called a Lorenz curve. So a Lorenz curve is really good for showing a difference between a quality and the data you've been given. So what we'll have is we'll have this thing called this line straight here, looks like a bow, but this straight line is a perfectly equal to diagonal line, directly proportional, a perfect equality. So if we had a distribution of wealth, that means that 50% of the wealth should be among 50% of the people. Okay, you can see where this is going here. Okay. The further away we are from this line, the further away, the less equal it is. Okay, so the further away from the diagram, the more concentrated the data is. The more concentrated it is on particular people, particular places, regions. Okay, so if it's very far away, we don't have equality. We have inequality. The higher the inequality is, or the concentration is. Okay? Now, it actually operates on a very similar basis to the old cumulative frequency curves. Okay, you'll see that when you're expressing data. But let's look at our first one here. There's one question I'm going to show you, then I'll let you do your own. Here's a table, a Lorenz curve to show, again, this is a lot of it will come back to inequality and quality, especially in income. Now, this is for South Africa in 1996 to 2009 against the percentage of households. So if we have a look, we have percentage of households across the bottom and percentage of income. So easiest way to think about it, if it's perfectly equal, 50% of the income should be equal to 50% of the household. So if I read across, it should be there. That makes sense. Okay, that's why that is your equality line, because that's what we'd expect. But let's have a look at actually what is the case. So if we look at the case here, 50% of the wealth is, let's go all the way. Now, same thing as our normal line graphs. Go all the way to the end until you hit the graph and then go down. Now, if you have a look, each block is 20%. From 80 to 100 is 20%, which means halfway is going to be 90. Look at this. 50% of the wealth, so underneath this graph, is over 90% of the people. That means the other 50% of the wealth above the graph is in this many people, which is, let's just say that's 8%. And if we go up, we can have a look at the other way around. So if we could look at 80%, we can look at that. That means that we've got 20% of the wealth and 2% of the people. But what you can see is the fact that just by reading this graph, you can understand how a Lorenz curve works. Okay? You can see the fact that the further away it is from this line here, the further disparity it is. Okay? So here you've got 50% of the wealth in 8% of the people. Okay? So let's have a look. What's this question asking us? What can you tell about the change in equality in South Africa between 1996 and 2009? Well, all we want to do, so that was just how you can read and understand Lorenz curve. If we look here, this line is 2009 and this is 1996. The curve has gotten further away from the line. It has gotten further away than the equal line. So that just tells you that it is getting in the more concentrated. So it's the higher concentration. So that means the wealth is more concentrated on certain individuals, on a certain percentage of households. Or the other way to talk about it is less equal. You have a higher inequality in the income of people. So what can you tell about the change? We have a higher concentration of wealth. in 2009. So we have a higher inequality. Okay. What I want you to do now is there's a question after this as well about for Lorenz curve, which talks about geographical standings and the employment zones that they are. Okay, taken from it, some data. Give it a go.